Zack Nagy, LSU Country, is our guest. He's been joining us every week here during the football season. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Brian Kelly met with the media today, Zach, and pretty much said, hey, man, we're relying on all freshmen on the opposite side of Sage Ryan. When he said that, I guess your thoughts to Brian Kelly stating that.
Before I even get into any of that, I want to say congratulations on 6 years, by the way. Super sick accomplishment. Really proud of you. That's awesome. One of my favorite podcasts to come on. So congratulations to you guys. AYS is obviously the stuff. But to get to what Brian Kelly said, man, yeah, it's hard to not be discouraged by what he said. This Alexander news is not really surprised. You saw him go off the field super gingerly, couldn't put much weight on that foot for the most part. So that didn't really come as a surprise. You know, you take the bye week, get healthy, see what the report is on him next week. The Mekhi Wingo information was a little interesting to me. Just got to stick it on the injury report for now. He's been battling a lower body injury for a little bit now, and for the most part, you know, I didn't really expect him to not be practicing at this point. I thought he would just take the bye week take the Army week and then start to get back into a groove. But look, sticking with the cornerback room, like you said, man, yeah, it's super challenging. You have Sage Ryan, who's not necessarily a corner. Obviously, he's a defensive back, kind of a Swiss Army knife, can work nickel, safety, corner, kind of a jack of all trades type of guy. But I mean, look, you're going to be working with some true freshmen here. Jeremiah Hughes, Ashton Stamps is working his way back from a minor groin injury that he's been nursing. So is it a concern? Look, man, I'd be lying here. I'd like to be transparent when I talk to you and on this podcast in general. So sure, it's certainly an area of concern.
Tell me if I'm wrong here, okay? But from the last Saturday that Mekhi Wingo played to the potential next Saturday that he could, Zach, we're talking about 3 weeks.
Correct. And the interesting part about it is that when Brian Kelly kind of discussed Mekhi Wingo's status, it kind of is a thing where he's been nursing this injury the entire season and playing through it. And now did he tweak it again? Did something get worse? I'm not quite sure why his status would kind of be in jeopardy when the plan all along was to take the bye week or take the Army week, take the bye week, and then be ready for Alabama. So sure, maybe he'll be ready for the Alabama week.
To rudely interrupt you doesn't mean he's got to practice even during Bama, right? Like, I mean, he could be nursed back. So, like, hey, man, we're coming up close to a month until the next time that he would have to actually play. Is this more – because, Zach, and I'm sorry I rudely interrupted you, but I feel like it's more serious than he let on. Am I wrong there? Like –
he's super vague when he gives his injury reports. I kind of, at this point, I call them availability reports just because, you know, sometimes it's injury stuff. Sometimes it's inactive stuff with, you know, Denver Harris and Deuce Chestnut. You know, you never know really what it's going to be. So I just call them availability reports. And when I look at the Mekhi Wingo situation, man, I just look at it as like maybe at this current state in time or this moment in time, he's not healthy. Come next week, man, I'd be shocked to not see Mekhi Wingo on that field.
You think Brian Kelly's playing a little gamesmanship?
He could be playing games. I don't want to go down that path necessarily, but maybe at this point in time, he's just not ready. But come next week, ramp things up and give it a go at Bama. I'd be shocked, man. I couldn't imagine Mekhi Wingo, you know, tweaking it even worse. But look, who knows?
I appreciate that, Jason. All right, so let's go to Denver Harris and Deuce Chestnut. I don't – the Deuce Chestnut stuff at this point, Zach, does not surprise me in the slightest. I've pretty much written him – I don't want to say written him off in the sense of that he can't play, but written him off in the sense of that, hey, man, I'm fully expecting him not to play the entire rest of the year.
And I don't think that's wrong, by the way, but continue.
Denver Harris as well – Zach, if Denver Harris, if he would have always just been at LSU, I'd been like, okay, like what's really going on there? You know, like is there really, you know, is Brian Kelly just is it tough love? Like what's going on with this? But then I started asking the question like, hey, man, this would be the second time that you've had issues at programs. How much is it a Denver Harris thing versus maybe Brian Kelly saying, hey, my way or the highway, as some have alluded to?
No, I mean, that's valid judgment in that aspect. Just because, you know, you brought in 4 cornerbacks via the transfer portal.
Right.
None of them are available right now. You don't have Denver Harris. You don't have J.K. Johnson. You don't have Deuce Chestnut. And you don't have you're down. You're 0 for 4 right now. And kind of sticking on what you were saying about the Denver Harris saga, look, part of me in the back of my mind was just thinking, okay, maybe this is just an extremely tight leash. Maybe he misses a study session. Maybe he misses this. And immediately Brian Kelly's like, I warned you. I told you. If you do this incorrectly, I'm going to, disciplinary action will be the type of thing. And that's the only thing that I could even imagine. I'm not sure if he took it up another level and did something worse. But, man, the only thing that I can think of is strictly disciplinary action. And that's really just about it. And you could probably say the same thing about Deuce Chestnut as well. Denver Harris is going to be a week by week case. Who knows what's going to happen long term? But look, bottom line, it's a horrible situation to be in with this cornerback room, like you were kind of alluding to.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, Zach, I do think it's a problem. Okay, that if those three freshmen are playing against I don't care how bad they are offensively. Saban is the master of attacking your weakness.
Jermaine Burton is still a problem. Like,
he's still a problem.
However you want to like dissect this, at the end of the day, you're still going to have weapons going up against true freshmen in Tuscaloosa. If it was here, look, I'll try to find excuses. If it was here, maybe it'd be a little bit better. Man, you're going to Tuscaloosa as a true freshman. These are 18-year-old kids. And it's a challenging situation to go in. But look, again, continue, man.
This is what I think you do. You got to tell Sage Ryan that he's going to have to flip the field, meaning the freshman corners are on LSU's sideline at all times. Like, I mean, you're going to have to do small little integral things like that. But the big thing is for me, Zach, this D-line, like, hey, man, you want to talk – okay, last 2 weeks, last 3 weeks, kind of. People have been saying, oh, well, they're getting better. They're getting better. Well, Alabama is 132nd out of 133 teams in sack rate. Mm-hmm. If you can't get home on Jalen Milroe, then we do have a problem. Like, you're going to have to step up here. Is this game coming down to can the D-line, Harold Perkins and company, step up and help this defense? Like, is this make or break time?
See, the last part is where make or break is tough for me, but at the same time, I agree with you. Like you said, their offensive line, with all due respect, is not very good. Right. And you and I the other day, we were talking about Caden Proctor or whatever, how he's just getting he got absolutely abused by what? Landon Jackson?
Yeah, Landon Jackson, 3.5 sacks or something like that.
And so you kind of look at this in the sense of if your defensive line, Mason Smith, assuming Mekhi Wingo's healthy, and company, obviously Harold Perkins as well, if your playmakers can't make plays against a struggling offensive line, you're going to have just an absolutely horrible day. It's going to be a tough day at the office. So to what you're saying, look, your defensive line is going to have to get home to take pressure off of the secondary because we know that if they go through the air, it's going to be tough. So you need your guys like Mason Smith, Perkins, get home, get to the quarterback, and do that in that aspect. It's got to be done. It has to be done.
I don't know, Zach, if you just don't to some extent. I know this is going to sound so stupid. I don't know if you make Jalen Milroe beat you with intermediate throws. Saying, hey, we're going to take away everything deep. It's what you want to do anyway. You're going to have to prove to us that you can beat us by throwing intermediate because we know you can throw it 45, 50 yards. I mean, it's basically what A&M did, and Velcro hat Jimbo just screwed the pooch. Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask you maybe not crazy. All right, I won't ask you.
Hit me.
Okay, you want a crazy question?
Always, man.
Is this bigger because of all the deficiencies around Jayden? If he goes in here, in reference to Heisman, let me start off. In reference to Heisman, I feel like going on the road, okay, and beating Alabama with the deficiencies that this team has. I'm not going to say it's a bigger accomplishment than what Burrow did. I cannot say that. I'm not going to go there. I can't do that. But, man, if it's not damn near equal, like if he can find a way to pull this off, regardless if the score is 9-6, I don't think it really matters, okay? You can't give Michael Penix Jr. one of those and not give Jayden Daniels one.
Yep.
Is it crazy for me to say, like, this is the biggest obstacle that because with everything on the line, I feel like he's going to have to play just as perfect as he's been doing the last 7 weeks.
Without a doubt. This is the one. Like, this is your Heisman moment. This is your chance. Obviously, he's top 3 in the running right now.
Right.
Somehow, J.J. McCarthy's on top. I will not talk about that. But somehow, J.J. McCarthy has the best odds right now. It doesn't make sense to me. But look, for Jayden Daniels, this is it. This is your make or break moment. This is your Heisman moment. If you can go in there and obviously take down Bama in Tuscaloosa, given your defense is so – it's going to be a tough day with these freshmen. So if Jayden Daniels can go in there, hang, you're probably going to need 40. You're going to need a lot of points. If he can go in there, handle business, and do what he needs to do, look, it's probably one of the biggest games of his career, and he's going to have to go out there and handle business. Like
they're going to have to get to 40, man. They're going to have to get – I mean, if what was the Texas score? Like they got to 35, 38, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like somewhere around there. You're going to have to get in the 40s. Like
I agree.
I don't know if Alabama, even on this defense, can score 40. I'd have to see them score 40, But there just comes a part in time where I'm asking myself the question, like, hey, man, you're going to have to go off. You're going to have to go crazy like you did last time. You're going to have to – look, I know, Zach, and I said this last night, I know that people say that you don't want Jayden Daniels running all the time. If you want to win this, when he's got to do everything humanly possible to go out there and win. Like, if he runs the ball 17 times, so be it. Okay? Like, maybe you can – I feel more comfortable if he's got to sit out a game against Florida than, like – Garrett can come in and do some things because that team is not offensively sound either. He's going to have to go off is where I sit with it. Anything else Brian Kelly said today, Zach, that you took and was like, man, either good or bad, but you kind of just stood out to you?
Just that injury report, really, the availability report. It's the main takeaway for everybody within the space. Just, Deuce Chestnut, Denver Harris, like I said, Mekhi Wingo, Zy Alexander, just all of that as one is pretty much the major takeaway. It doesn't get much bigger than that.
Bernard Causey committed today. It's funny. A lot of people, when I tweeted it out, and I know that you did, were saying stuff about his weight. And I'm like, guys, you do know that Greedy was 6'1", 166 when he committed, right? Like, I mean, you really don't think he won't gain 20 pounds when he hits campus? I mean, come on.
I love the tape. I love Causey's tape. I like what he brings to the table. He's long. He's lanky. He has obviously the frame to put on size. He's a New Orleans native, so when I'm a New Orleans native too, so I gotta rep it in some type of way. I love what he brings to the table. I really think he has a chance to be a key piece to what this class does. And obviously, you're seeing a lot of shuffling within the cornerback room within this 2024 class. You lost Andre Evans. You might see some more shakeup in the next couple of weeks potentially, but to go out and add somebody like PJ Woodland, Bernard Causey to kind of like fill the voids. Look, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I'm really high on what he brings to this team, to this 2024 class.
Just to emphasize, because I see the chat. Yeah, I've watched Bama. I mean, I'm assuming Zach, you have too.
Oh yeah.
They are beating teams by beating them deep and playing elite defense. Do I think you can score on them? Yeah, but Zach, just for me, and I'm just going to speak for me, I do think it's a worry when you say three corners and the Terrence Welsh shoe. The last time Zach, they threw out, and this is not a shot at Jeremiah Hughes when I say it like this.
Right.
Zy Alexander went down. Jeremiah Hughes was the guy that they ran out there, a guy that we had not seen all year.
Right.
Okay, like that's how I don't want to say desperate, but how it felt like, hey, man, we hadn't seen this guy all year. He's the first guy that you run out there. I'm not saying Jeremiah's not a good player. I thought he looked pretty good.
I hear exactly what you're saying.
Okay.
It's not like we're sitting out here and saying it's not like we're sitting here and saying Hughes is a bad player. It's just a matter of a guy who's so inexperienced, so young. That's your next man up. It kind of just alludes to the point that your cornerback room is in such bad shape that you're going to somebody in a tremendous time of need who has no experience. He's very young on the scene. It's really just about it. I mean, we can't sit here and rag on somebody like Jeremiah Hughes because he's a talented player and he has tremendous upside. But when you don't have savvy veterans in your locker room to come in when you need them most, it's worrisome. And obviously going into Tuscaloosa, you're going to be rocking with these youngsters. So, look, assuming at this point in time that that's the case, we'll see. But obviously it's a point of concern. And you're 100% spot on. You're trying to watch your words a little bit too much. I hear exactly what you're saying.
Well, it's not that I don't think LSU can't win. I literally started off the whole half of the show saying I think that they still can win and will win. My whole point is when you talk about an Alabama team, okay, that I don't give a shit what they looked like against South Florida, okay? Because if you've gotten better, so have they also have gotten better, okay? So, look, It is what it is. All right, one quick one before I get you out of here. Army, anything that you walked away from that game, or a couple things you walked away from that game saying that you liked the most?
Dude, the second level of defense was fantastic to me. I think Omar Speights played really well. Harold Perkins always does his thing, and Greg Penn's such a good communicator. The box score might not show tremendous numbers for somebody like Greg Penn III, but what he does on the field is impressive. When you talk to guys like Whit Weeks, even Omar Speights, they talk just about how much Greg Penn means to this team. So, like I said, even though the box score might not have said much, his communication is what helped limit that triple option. Of course, Army, all the respect in the world to that team, but it's an inferior opponent, so they handled business as they should have. But to me, the major takeaway was that second level of defense kind of handling business, doing what they needed to do. Omar Speights coming up with a really good game. I think he had 9 total tackles. So
yeah, led the team.
It was a really good day at the office for Omar Speights. And then Andre Sam, look, he could have had 4 interceptions. Obviously, the ball didn't roll his way every single time, and he ended up with 2 picks, a pass breakup. But to me, man, Andre Sam's been one of your more reliable, players in the secondary. Certainly inconsistency plagues him at times. But when he's on, he's on. And he gives me that, that Louisiana flair, that guy that you want in the secondary. And to me, that was a major takeaway against Army. I don't have anything to say about the offense just because they did what they were supposed to do. They hung 62 points on a team that they should have hung 62 points on. The defense stole the show for me. I love what that second level of defense did, and I loved what Andre Sam did.
So I walked away personally, Zach, just saying to myself, like, hey, man, normally you don't get up for these type of games, normally you kind of just lollygag around, and they didn't. Right. And then it's the simple nature that they run the ball as much with a running clock constantly. Right. And then you're able to put up that many. I didn't know if they'd have the time to put up that many points. It's not that they can't, but I didn't know if they'd have the time because, look, if they get a first down, it's not they can 3 yards in a cloud of dust you the whole way down the field. It's probably what they should have done. But I guess they had different plans.
That's why my score prediction was what it was. I didn't think we'd get to 62 points, but goddamn,
what was your score prediction? I didn't see it. What was your score prediction?
Like 42-10, 45-10, something around that. I didn't think 62 would be on there, but
I just didn't think they'd give enough possessions. You know what I mean? Like I just didn't think they'd be able to get that to that much. I lied. One last thing for you. I know that there is a lot going on with Michigan. Okay. From you've been in the business long enough. When you see something like that being reported, what was your first take about Michigan when you saw that and Ross Dellinger and them reporting about the sign signals and stealing them and all that?
Ross is fantastic at his job, so I usually don't question much that he puts out there. Obviously, at the time, I was sitting there thinking, like, what are the the details of this? Like, is this actually a thing? And then more things broke. There were photos. There were details about him purchasing tickets, that being the Michigan staffer. So, look, when I see a situation like that, I just kind of put my head down and just shake my head and just say, what the hell? Like, you're such a powerhouse program. Do you really need to go to those lengths to beat teams? But at the end of the day, I feel like there's so many more details that are going to emerge to kind of tell the story on that we'll know a little bit more information. But at this time, it's a little, vague. I feel like we need to know a little bit more. But nonetheless, it's just a weird situation happening up in Ann Arbor.
Very weird, and you do have Bryce Underwood that
I'm not going to comment on that, but I like what you're thinking. I like what you're thinking.
Why aren't you going to comment?
Because I like what you're saying, and there's no need for me to elaborate.
I got you. All right, Zack Nagy, LSU Country Sports Illustrated. Thank you so much for joining the show, man. I love it.
I appreciate it. Again, congratulations on the 6 years. You always kill the game.
Thanks, man. We'll talk to you soon. We'll talk to you next week. We'll see you then.
Cool.